Policy and Legislation. A special meeting of the Board of Directors for July 19th. It's about 1:01. Calling this meeting to order. Mr. General Manager, do we have a quorum? Could you take the roll, please?
Happy to do so. Director Don Deere. Here. Chairwoman Gloria Gray.
Here.
Director Scott Houston. Here. Director Harold Williams. Here. Director Desi Alvarez. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item 3, public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to speak?
Madam Chair, we have not received any requests for public comment, though this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If there's any member of the public that would like to make public comment, please indicate so now by raising your virtual hand. And Madam Chair, I do not see any requests for public comment.
All right, thank you. Item 4, presentations. We have no presentation. We do?
No, staff has no presentations.
Thank you very much. Item 5, action calendar. Mr. General Manager, please present the action calendar.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This first item is item 5A. It's to adopt a support position on HR 8682 by Congressman Huffman. For this presentation, we do have Augustine Hahn, our Water Policy and Resources Development Analyst.
Thank you, EJ. Thank you, Chairwoman, members of the board. The item before you today, as EJ mentioned, is a proposal for West Basin Board to adopt a support position on HR 8682, the Tax Parity Act. The bill is sponsored by Representative Huffman of California and Curtis of Utah, and the co-sponsors of this piece of legislation are Representatives Chu and LaMalfa, both from California. A copy of the bill, as well as a summary article, is included with the staff report in your board packets. This is the reintroduction of the longstanding effort to amend federal tax code to accept subsidies and rebates received for water conservation, stormwater management, and wastewater management measures. For instance, residents in West Basin service area currently have to treat rebates received for grass replacement and other devices as income, taxable income under the federal tax code. If passed, water-related subsidies would receive the same federal tax treatment as energy subsidies currently receive. And the state of California actually took steps by reinstating its state tax exclusion for the tax years 2022 through 2027, and that was through AB 2142 in 2022. As far as the support within the industry, Metropolitan Water District and some of its member agencies have signaled their support. Those agencies include MODOC, Eastern, Inland Empire, and Upper District. Also, the Alliance for Water Efficiency, which is the national association for conservation practitioners, is also in support. This is a very straightforward legislative proposal that would serve to benefit residents in our service area. It also aligns with the policy principles and legislative priorities adopted by this board. And staff is recommending a support position on HR 8682. That completes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
And Madam Chair, if I could add, as Augustine mentioned, this has just been a longstanding effort of the West Basin Municipal Water District, as well as the Board of Directors, to really support water use efficiency and rebates. We've been a leader as far as providing these rebates and working with Metropolitan Water District to really promote those throughout the service area. And so we think that this would be the prudent thing to do as far as adopting a support position on HR 8682.
I so move.
All right, thank you. Any questions about that first? Thank you for the presentation. Director Deere, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Director Houston?
No questions. I think we should support it.
All right. And Director Deere, are you okay with moving it forward with the recommendation?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We will move it forward. We will go to the next item, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, the next item that we have for you is item 5B. It's to adopt a resolution number 07241212 related to the Los Angeles County Water Plan. Now, you may recall that recently we had a member of the LA County Public Works staff join us for a West Basin Municipal Water District regular scheduled board of directors meeting. They did a presentation on the LA County Water Plan, and you might recall that West Basin Municipal Water District has actually participated in the development of that plan from the very beginning. And now LA County is asking those that participated and those active local governments that are engaged on these issues to look at the plan and possibly take a support position on that. And for this presentation today, we do have Augustine Hahn, again, our Water Policy and Resources Development Analyst.
Thank you, Jay. Chairwoman, members of the board, this item in front of you at the moment, as EJ said, is a resolution to support the LA County Water Plan. A copy of the plan and resolution are attached to the staff report on page 14. To share some of the plan highlights, the plan articulates a shared, inclusive regional path forward to sustainability and equitably achieve safe, clean, and reliable water resources for Los Angeles County. There are 4 central themes in this plan. Those are resilience, equity, sustainability, and engagement. And there's also 4 key focal areas that this plan highlights, and that's regional water supply reliability, groundwater management and quality, small at-risk system resilience and drinking water equity, and finally, watershed sediment management. EJ just covered some of the engagement that West Basin has been doing along the process. In addition to that, West Basin was invited to attend at the LA County Water Resiliency Summit in April as one of the county's primary stakeholders. General Manager EJ participated along with other water agencies in Los Angeles County. By adopting this resolution, West Basin Board would do 3 things: adopt the LA County Water Plan as a guiding document to inform pertinent and relevant aspects of water resiliency strategies. Second, it would authorize and empower district to continue collaborating with LA County Public Works and other stakeholders on implementation of the plan. And finally, it would authorize and empower West Basin to actively engage in coalition building to bolster regional collaboration related to regional water resilience. There has been agencies that have adopted resolutions, much like the one in front of you. Those agencies are Las Virgenes Municipal Water District, Foothill Municipal Water District, Crescenta Valley Water District, which is a retailer under Foothill, Water Replenishment District, Maine San Gabriel Basin Water Master, and LA County Sanitation Districts. The staff recommendation is to adopt the resolution. This concludes the report, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for the report. Director Deere, do you have any questions or
No,
comments?
thank you.
Director Houston?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, just one question. Is there any agency or any entity that does not agree with this plan?
Madam Chair, there have been no agencies, municipalities, or water districts that have taken an opposed position on this. Again, I think that to the credit of LA County Public Works, they really had an open and inclusive process as far as developing the plan. So really anybody who wanted to participate in the development had that opportunity. So I do not anticipate any opposition. There are some environmental stakeholders that have provided comments, however, and even those comments have not necessarily been negative, just kind of an opportunity to shine a light on other issues or parallel issues. So to my knowledge, at this time, nobody has taken an opposed position.
All right, great. It sounds like a very collaborative process, and that's always good. So Director Deere, is it okay to move it forward with the recommendation?
Yes, I agree.
All right, thank you. We will move it forward with the recommendation. We will go to item 6, information calendar. Mr. General Manager, please.
Yes, thank you very much. The item 6 is our state and federal legislative update for June 2024. And back to back to back, we have Augustine Ha, again, our Water Policy and Resources Development Analyst.
Thank you, EJ. Member of the board, I have the state update for you. This is on page 53 of the agenda packet. Go ahead and start with a little housekeeping of sorts, I guess, with the legislative schedule. Summer recess begins after passing the policy committee deadline. Legislature began its summer recess on July 3rd. They are scheduled to reconvene August 5th for a legislative sprint until they adjourn for the end of the year at the end of August. However, there was a flurry of activity before the 3rd, and I'm happy to cover those in this update. Regarding the budget, the governor signed legislation reflecting the final budget agreement with the legislature, delivering a budget that is said to be balanced over the next 2 fiscal years and maintains $22.2 billion in total reserves at the end of the current fiscal year. This agreement addressed a $46.8 billion shortfall through a balanced package of solutions, including $16 billion in spending reduction. However, it does avoid deep program cuts and maintains service levels for several priority issues. Of note, $73.5 million was appropriated for water recycling projects that may be provided as grants or loans. This item was proposed to be cut in prior versions of the draft budget this year. West Basin engaged with water reuse to advocate to preserve that funding for water recycling projects, so we're happy to see that. Moving on from the budget to the bonds, voters will have 2 bonds to consider on the November general election ballot this year. Both will require majority votes to pass, and so both of them, but the first one is the climate resilience bond, or the $10 billion climate bond. This was SB 867 by Senator Allen. Now it will be on the ballot as Proposition 4. That $10 billion climate bond includes $3.8 billion for drinking water purposes, $386.25 million for water reuse and recycling, and $75 million for water conservation. A more detailed breakdown of the climate bond can be found in the state update in your agenda packet. West Basin and industry partners have been advocating for substantial amounts of water funding for water infrastructure, specifically in water recycling. Although the final amounts fall short of the industry's initial asks, water infrastructure received far more funding than other categories in the climate bond. Moving on to the second bond, is the $10 billion education infrastructure bond that was AB 247 by Assemblyman Worth Suchi, and that will go on the ballot as Proposition 2. Negotiations on these bonds and ballot initiatives, ballot measures lasted until late on July 3rd. To pass both bonds, they called for a special election. This included both climate and education bonds and other ballot measures. This strategy helped overcome the voting threshold associated with an urgency clause and provided more time for negotiations. These bonds passed legislature as a package, was signed by Acting Governor McGuire, and now goes on to the ballot as Proposition 4 and 2. Staff is bringing this information to this committee today as an update, but would be interested in hearing any discussion from its members about taking a possible position. If you recall, the board had a support and seek amendments on this bill, that bill being SB 867. And so now that it is on the ballot and does contain some provisions that would benefit West Basin and the water industry, and to show support for West Basin delegates, the board may want to take a position later, or position next month. Staff would be happy to bring more detailed information about the climate bond to you to support any board decision-making. This concludes the update, and sorry, not conclude the update. This concludes the update on the bond, and staff is available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Director Deere, do you have any questions?
We're gonna get more information for next month.
Sure, happy to do that.
All right.
So thanks.
Director Houston?
Yes, I think we should consider supporting this, Madam Chair. So I would definitely like our staff to bring back more information for this committee and then the board to discuss. And, personally, I think I support it and I think we should support it. But the other thing is that it took a lot of work to get to this point and get it across the finish line. A number of our members were highly engaged in this, and it's Senator Allen's bill, correct? So I think we also have a good vested interest in this, but obviously the board makes that decision. So yes, please, let's bring that back.
Yes, I agree. Bring back more information and thank you. And you want to move on to the next item then? As part of your presentation.
Sure. I can continue the state update with an update on some of the bills that West Basin has been tracking.
Sorry.
SB 1330 by Senator Archuleta has to do with the urban retail water supplier and the urban water use objective. If you recall, that's related to the water use efficiency framework. This would require the State Water Resources Control Board to adopt variances recommended by DWR for unique uses that can have material effect on the supplier's urban water use objective. It also cleans up statutory language to match regulatory enforcement deadlines. It updates residential landscape area measurement data and also removes language from statute that is no longer relevant, such as the SBX 7-7 reporting requirements. This is a bill that we have been tracking. Now that the water use efficiency framework regulations have been adopted, this bill could help retailers with compliance in future years. This bill has passed all policy committees and is now headed to the Assembly Appropriations. Moving on to the next bill, SB 1255. This is a low-income rate assistance bill by Senator Durazo. The bill would require systems of over 3,300 connections to establish a low-income rate assistance program. This bill proposes to fund this assistance through voluntary contributions from fellow ratepayers on an opt-out basis. This was discussed at the Metropolitan Water District's legislative coordinators meeting yesterday, which Tammy and myself attended. The bill was brought as an information and included in their update. Metropolitan staff let us know that the bill was brought as an information item at the last board meeting, and some members expressed concerns during the discussions. Metropolitan Water District has yet to take a position, but will work with Aqua and CMUA to engage on the bill. Metropolitan Water District met with bill sponsors who expressed a willingness to work on some issues. But one of the sticking points is going to be the opt-out provision in the bill. West Basin, of course, recognizes the great need for low-income communities in our service area. However, there remains a concern about the mechanics of how the bill could be implemented without running afoul of Prop 218. Our associations have moved to an opposed position. The bill has been referred to Assembly Appropriations, where it will be taken up following the summer recess. Staff is not recommending a position at this time, but we will continue to communicate with our stakeholder groups, including Metropolitan and our associations. Moving on to AB 2257 by Assemblymember Wilson. This has to do with property-related water and sewer fees and assessments. This bill would prohibit a person or entity from bringing judicial action or proceeding alleging noncompliance with constitutional provisions for any new, increased, or extended fee or assessment unless that person or entity has timely submitted to the local agency a written objection that specifies the grounds for alleging noncompliance. This is an Aqua-sponsored bill, and this is aimed at protecting agencies who have to go through the Prop 218 process in their rate setting. The bill has passed all policy committees and is now on to the Senate floor. And on to the last bill of the bill update here is SB 366. the California Water Plan with the long-term supply targets. West Basin has adopted a support position on this bill. This bill would modernize the California Water Plan and set long-term water supply targets. CMUA, California Water for All are sponsors. The bill is heavily supported within the water industry and was recently amended and is now on to Assembly Appropriations. That concludes the update on the bills, and I have one update from the State Water Resources Control Board, and that is that they've adopted the Water Use Efficiency Framework regulations on July 3rd. This follows an extensive process that was kicked off by the passage of SB 606 and AB 1668 in 2018. The Water Use Efficiency Framework sets conservation targets beginning in 2025 through 2040 and potentially beyond. A memo was sent to the board earlier this month, which includes more details. Staff plans to support retail agencies in implementing the framework through regular engagement and by providing resources. In three engagement methods, one-on-ones with retailers, we plan on meeting with them initially to assess their state of compliance and also on an ongoing basis to discuss retailer-specific areas of interest. We also plan on convening a regional work group to build a support network of our retail agencies to help them in compliance and also let them know of all the resources that are available to them that are made available by West Basin. And also we'll be working with the PI team to develop a fact sheet utilizing other existing resources to share with retailers and potentially have public events. This concludes a state update. I'll pass it back over to you, Jim.
Madam Chair, were there any questions related to the state update?
Let me, Director Deere, do you have any questions?
No,
Director Houston?
Yes. I do have a question because, and I want to talk about this for just a minute, is that Durazo bill, the SB 1255, because there was an email sent out by Aqua earlier this week, and I did forward it to the general manager as well, where Aqua is urging member agencies to contact their legislature to share their concerns about that bill. So I guess right now it's their position is oppose unless amended, right? This is what Aqua. And in this email, it says that since the author has not accepted needed amendments, Aqua is now working to stop the bill. So, and they're coming back to hear this, I think, August 5, which of course is, really fast. So I understand you're monitoring what Aqua's doing, and we usually kind of take the lead of Aqua. But I mean, obviously this is a little more serious. So they're saying they want to stop this bill if this author is not taking amendments.
That is correct, and I just want to make one note. I would say that West Basin Municipal Water District has always been a progressive agency that works within the industry to promote and work on legislation throughout the legislative session. In this case, Aqua has taken a very strong approach on this bill. As Augustine mentioned, Metropolitan Water District currently does not have a position on the bill. We're working within the Metropolitan Water District family on this. I can't remember if you noted it, Augustine, none of the West Basin Municipal Water District retailers have actually taken an action on the bill. And as you might have heard mentioned, this would impact retailers of a very specific size as far as the number of connections. So it would not impact West Basin, and our retailers have currently not engaged on the issue. So we're working within our organization and within our region as far as trying to figure out where everybody is and closely monitoring it. But at this time, staff does not have a recommendation on the bill. Obviously, if the committee and board would like us to entertain that, we could do a little bit more research and come back. I think it'd be difficult to do by Monday, but we could bring that back in August. But their stop date is August 5th.
Probably too late for whatever we would want to do or not do.
Correct.
But for what it's worth, I guess since Met's not taken a position thus far, although they just talked about it, right, just recently. So, we're kind of, it's a really tight deadline. We almost couldn't do anything, but Aqua is leading the charge at the moment. So,
They're leading the opposition charge. I think that there are a lot of agencies right now that have not engaged on the bill for a number of different reasons.
Hmm.
Yes, there are concerns about it. And there are agencies that will be impacted. And I think, Augustine, you have done a little bit of research as far as some of the agencies that are more engaged than others. I thought you said in kind of the Riverside County.
Yes, those agencies, more towards Riverside and San Bernardino County have taken positions on the bill. Yes.
Okay, well, I guess maybe at this point, we kind of hold and see what between Aqua, excuse me, and Metropolitan, what Metropolitan does. But one of my concerns is because, even if a lot of our retailers are smaller and they don't have resources to track this stuff, is this even something that you all bring to the attention of the local retailers?
Of course, we're always in constant communication with them. Why don't I do this? Why don't I, first of all, point out that if needed, West Basin, myself, West Basin staff will come back to the board if we feel that a position is necessary. We can always do a special board meeting to beat that deadline and take action as needed. But secondly, I can do a little bit more research as far as work with Emily as well as Jamie to kind of highlight some of the issues that are dividing those that are in strong opposition versus those that are interested in this issue and tracking the issue.
So one last thing on that though, so you're saying that this would not impact any of our retailers? They're too small? Okay.
I did not say that they would not be impacted. I said that they have not engaged on the bill and they don't
That I
have a
heard.
position.
But, well,
Yes.
so,
It would impact any systems with over 3,300 connections, and I think that's all.
aren't all of ours? Yeah. So that's why I'm like, well, wait a minute. All of our people are impacted. 3,300 that's a very small threshold. So anyway, the reason I think it's important is because, and there is something to be said for having an opt-in versus an opt-out, right? And what's the automatic? And, there's just things like that could be the deal breaker. And so I personally think we're standing up for our ratepayers and our retailers. And if they're not paying attention or it's not first priority, these things float through. So I agree with what you said earlier, EJ. If you can monitor it, see if it's something we need to think about engaging on. Because we can all say, well, the ag people or the Inland Empire, they're focused on it and we're not, but then it goes through, this is not all, we don't all think alike in the ideas of legislation. And so I do believe it's inherent on us to stand up for our ratepayers
Agreed.
if we might have a difference of opinion. Especially if the author may not change their mind, right? So it just seems like this one's getting a little more attention in the water community. So I think that we need to pay attention too. So please, if you would do that, and I understand what Metropolitan's doing, but we're all going to be impacted by this if it goes through the law. And then there are concerns that might violate Prop 218, you said? Potentially?
I did not say that.
That's an issue that's been brought up in
So there's a little bit more at stake. So yeah. So anyway, I think that this should be something we monitor. Thank you.
And
Well, thanks for the comments. I think what's important is that the general manager looks at it, analyzes it, and monitors it to make sure that it does not negatively impact West Basin, including, our ratepayers. And I think EJ is certainly going to do that and continues to do that for us. So I encourage that to move forward with it. So are there any other comments?
Madam Chair, if I could
not-
just throw this out there. I just pulled up the analysis of the latest analysis of the bill and to put this in perspective. In support of the bill, You have the California Coastkeeper Alliance, you have the California Environmental Justice Alliance, California Environmental Voters. You do have California Water Association. California Water Association represents most of the investor-owned utilities and is the primary lobbying organization for California Water Service Company, as well as Golden State and CalAmp. So all three of our larger retail agencies are in that alliance, and obviously supportive. You have Heal the Bay, LA Waterkeeper, and a number of different organizations. We don't want to not point out that the agencies that are in opposition. I can also note that obviously you have Cucamonga Valley Water District, Eastern Municipal Water District, Inland Empire Utility Agency, as well as Rancho California Water District, San Gabriel Valley Water Association, and Western Municipal Water District. So you do have a number of Metropolitan Water District agencies right now. And as Augustine said, those organizations were actually opposed unless amended. And some of them are moving straight to oppose. But the support agencies, it's an extensive list, and I'm not trying to weigh one more than the other. I'm just letting you know that there's a great deal of support for this issue. And I know that sometimes these things come down to, how you feel about assistance and ratepayer advocacy. There seems to be a divide on some of those issues. And it's looked upon, I think, a little bit more favorably in our communities.
All right.
Well-
Thank you for that.
Madam Chair, and
Yes, go on.
no, I think EJ's analysis, and those would be the kind of things we would want to see and hear and understand if it would be something we'd want to engage more in or take a position. But it does show you the diverse groups on both sides of this issue. So obviously it's a little more contentious. So I still think, yeah, it behooves us to monitor it. And if it's something we need to look at, and then we can weigh in on our own opinions.
Of course. We'll take a deep dive on over the weekend and then on Monday. And if we feel it's necessary to bring it back for consideration, we're happy to do that.
All right, thank you, EJ. Thank you so much, and thank you for the comments, Director Houston. All right, we'll move on to the next item, and thank you, Augustine, for the presentation, everyone. So we move on to the next item, please.
And Madam Chair, this would lead us forward to the federal affairs update.
Thank you, EJ. Directors, I'll continue by providing the federal update. The first update item is the Chevron doctrine. On June 28th, the Supreme Court ruled to end the Chevron doctrine. Since 1984, the Chevron doctrine required courts to defer to the expertise of the federal agencies when there is a disagreement on the meaning of a federal statute. The removal of the doctrine is expected to spark a series of lawsuits to reverse decisions previously made under its authority. This could impact regulations and guidance carried out under foundational laws like the Clean Water Act or regulations on water quality, access, conservation, climate change, and more. This could change how water-related regulations are interpreted and enforced. Moving on to the next update. New deputy commissioner appointed at the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. In June, Reclamation Commissioner Touton announced the appointment of Rocky Sanchez as deputy commissioner. As deputy commissioner, Mr. Sanchez will oversee Reclamation's internal and external relations strategies with Congress and the American public. Deputy Commissioner Sanchez previously served as senior advisor for Reclamation and served the White House as a policy advisor for the Office of Domestic Climate Policy and startup facilitator for the Office of Clean Energy Innovation and Implementation. He also has experience under the Obama administration and holds degrees in civil and environmental engineering from Rice University. Congratulations to Mr. Sanchez. And moving on to another item of note from the Bureau of Reclamation, $700 million for lower Colorado Basin conservation projects has been made available. These investments has the potential to save more than 700,000 acre feet of water in Lake Mead. This funding is for bucket 2 projects being funded by the Lower Colorado Basin System Conservation and Efficiency Program, which was established through the Inflation Reduction Act. Funding will be used on projects that support short and long-term efforts in the basin, including water distribution structures, advanced metering infrastructure, farm efficiency improvements, canal lining, turf removal, groundwater banking, desalination, recycled water, and sustainable sources of water supply. Moving on to the next item, advocacy efforts to support greater industrial water recycling. On July 2nd, West Basin Senior Management staff met with water reuse and Veolia leadership to discuss water reuses efforts to get legislation introduced, which would establish a federal investment tax credit to support greater investment and use of water recycling by the industrial sector. Water reuse has solicited advice from West Basin on how the measure could be designed in such a way to make existing industrial water recycling users eligible for partnered investments in recycled water. Water reuse continues to build a coalition of support amongst major corporations in industrial sectors. The goal is to introduce bipartisan legislation in the House and Senate by year's end, and to secure investment tax credits as part of a larger tax package in 2025. Have a couple bills to update you on at the federal level. The first one is HR 8812. This is the WRDA bill, the Water Resource Development Act of 2024. This was heard in House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. The legislation includes a provision to include water conservation and supply as one of the primary missions of the Army Corps of Engineers. This is in addition to 1, navigation, 2, flood protection, and 3, ecosystem restoration. Language is in line with previous efforts by Representative Napolitano, which was supported by the West Basin Board. Additional provisions authorize the Corps to shift focus of certain water projects in Nevada, California, and Arizona to water supply needs during a drought. House is planning to bring the WRDA bill to the floor week of July 22nd. The timing of a Senate floor vote is yet to be determined. We will continue to track. The next bill is the HR 7776, the Help Hoover Dam Act, which would provide an additional $45 million in operating funds for Hoover Dam. Metropolitan Water District supports this bill, and this bill has passed House Natural Resources Committee and has not yet been scheduled for a House floor vote. That will continue to track as well. The next item, also related to the Colorado River, is HR 7872, the Colorado River Salinity Control Fix Act. This bill would increase the federal cost share on efforts to control salinity in the Colorado River. Metropolitan supports this bill as well, and this bill has also passed House Natural Resources Committee, but has yet to be scheduled for a floor vote. We will continue to track that bill as well. And the final piece of federal legislation I have for you is Senate Bill 4673, Special District Grant Accessibility Act. And this was introduced on July 12th and is a Senate companion to HR 7525, which was approved by the House on May 5th. This bill would codify a formal definition of special district and would require the White House Office of Management and Budget to issue guidance to federal agencies requiring special districts to be recognized as local governments for the purpose of federal financial assistance. Unlike other forms of local government, special districts were excluded from receiving direct federal aid, despite the fact that many special districts provided essential public services throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. In particular, the CARES Act and the ARPA funding, water districts, special districts were not eligible for. While special districts are are eligible for the vast majority of current federal funding opportunities. They are ineligible for or face barriers to accessing certain grant programs. The bill seeks to level the playing field by ensuring that special districts have access to all appropriate and relevant federal funding streams. West Basin joined a CSDA coalition, which issued a letter to Senators Padilla and Butler, respectfully requesting they sponsor the Senate companion measure. Other members of this coalition in support include CSDA, CMUA, MODOC, Cayugas, Three Valleys, Western, and LA County Sanitation Districts. Staff will continue to track and present updates as necessary. This concludes the federal report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Director Dare?
I do have,
No, thank you.
Director
I have a-
Houston?
yes, I have a quick question. What was that bill number again, Augustine? Senate?
This was 4673, the Special District Grant Accessibility Act.
Whose bill is it?
I do not have that information on hand. I'm happy
So what did you say about our two senators?
to. Our two senators, we are asking for them to sponsor the Senate companion.
This is the Senate companion, right?
Yes.
It's just the Senate bill. They
Yes,
have
we're-
one now.
We're asking them to sponsor, or the CSDA coalition issued a letter asking them to sponsor.
Oh, okay. Because I knew it passed the House, but the Senate bill, there is no Senate bill yet.
Correct. And I think in a previous meeting, maybe 3 months ago, you had requested that we engage with CSDA on this issue. It had passed out of the House and it was kind of working with our state senator, or excuse me, our senators representing the state of California. And so we have engaged on that issue and we continue to help CSDA on that.
Okay, well, let's please monitor it. I believe it's probably one of those things we should take an official position when that time comes. But yeah, you guys will let us know. So they're still shopping it around. They're trying to get someone to carry. Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Madam
you.
Chair.
All right, thank you. If there's no further questions or comments, thank you very much for the report. Anything else with legislation? Otherwise, we'll move on to Metropolitan's report. Mr. General Manager?
Yes, we're ready to move on. So Madam Chair, this brings us to item 6B, which begins on packet page 86. As you just mentioned, our monthly Metropolitan Water District update. And for this presentation, we have Tammy Hurley-High, our Water Policy and Resources Development Analyst.
So this is a monthly update on metropolitan item, just summarizing a few key highlights. And we have included a few presentation slides to accompany the report, try to help to talk through this. So those presentation slides begin on page 102 of the committee packet. The first item of note is the Pure Water Southern California project. So Metropolitan Subcommittee on Pure Water and Regional Conveyance had their last meeting on June 27th, and the committee received a quarterly update on the Pure Water program. Metropolitan just did receive notification from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation of a funding award of $99.2 million. And that is from the U.S. Bureau's large-scale water recycling program for planning and design work. The initial funding award of $99 million, staff will be working with USDR to refine the scope of work and the budget for the project to match the funding amount. And the reason being is because the funding award did not cover the full request that Metropolitan made. Their grant application had requested 125 million. So just a little bit shy of that. But USDR did suggest that Metropolitan reapply for the additional 26 million under a separate grant application. So the acceptance of the grant fund will be brought to the Metropolitan Board in the near future for their consideration. And should the board approve, Metropolitan would use those funds to begin the design work on the treatment plant. They would continue with the pipeline design and pursue other work that's necessary to maintain the program. So the grant has a matching fund requirement 3 times of the amount awarded of funding. So for this grant award, the total expenditure of $100 million, the project would cost approximately $400 million. So I've also included a breakdown of how the total expenditures would be split between Metropolitan and the sanitation districts, and that's shown in the next slide. And again, taking just a little, snippet of the report that the Metropolitan staff provided a very comprehensive report to their committee. But here's a flow chart of how the grant funding would be divided between Metropolitan and the sanitation districts. In addition to the expenditures, that would be the matching fund requirement. So these are preliminary figures and subject to change, but for now, this is what they are estimating. The grant of $99 million would be shared with the sanitation district by approximately 25%. The sanitation district would be responsible for design of the membrane bioreactor facility and other reverse osmosis pretreatment. The sanitation district would receive approximately $20 to $25 million, and Metropolitan would receive $70 to $75 million. And just the next chart on the line down shows the total potential expenditures estimated at $400 million. So the shared expenses would be approximately $300 million for Metropolitan and approximately $100 million for the Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. The matching funds for Metropolitan would be between $250 million to $285 million. And then also shown at the bottom of this slide are the sources for the matching funds. These would come from recent funding award the Metropolitan has received from the state of California, also funding from other parties, and then funding that Metropolitan would be looking to implement new programs.
Tammy, I don't know if it's possible to speak a little bit louder because sometimes it is harder to hear on this side of the room. And I did want to point out that this is a significant step for Metropolitan Water District because we've long heard about the investments made by Arizona as well as Nevada into pure water. You'll recall that when Metropolitan Water District adopted its budget, they did not fund in the next 2-year cycle significant funds for pure water. And really what you're seeing right now is the acceptance of these grants of the $99 million comes with a significant investment from Metropolitan Water District. So there's been a lot of questions over the past year or two as whether Metropolitan Water District was moving forward. The project has not yet been approved by the board of directors, and I do not believe that that'll happen until they need to adopt their CEQA documents, through that process. But accepting that grant does come with a required match by Metropolitan Water District, which is significant enough that you're seeing the board having to make that decision as to what they want to do with pure water. So I would say this grant is triggering, I won't say a de facto decision on the project, but a commitment for them to move forward and invest these funds. So to me, that's a pretty significant step. Sorry, Tammy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Thank you. So as mentioned earlier, acceptance of the grant funds would be brought back to the board for their consideration. And then an information item will be brought back next month in August. And then in September, the board would consider acceptance of the grant award commitment of the matching funds, and then approving an agreement with the sanitation districts. Also, Metropolitan provided information on phasing alternatives of the project in terms of the planning. If we can move to the next slide, please. So earlier this year, Metropolitan staff presented several alternatives, and since then they have been looking at different phasing alternatives and investigating what those could look like. So the program phasing would help to reduce cost. They would start with phase 1. It would have a reduced scope with less cost involved. And it would include matching the treatment capacity on what the demand could be, and then a smaller and shortened conveyance and potential incorporation of direct potable reuse. yeah, the environmental process, planning process is still ongoing. The draft EIR should be available for review by the second quarter of 2025, if not sooner. And the final EIR is anticipated to be completed no later than the first quarter of 2026. So that concludes my update on the Pure Water Program. Thank you for that additional information. If we can move to the next slide, please. So we'll talk about update on the Delta Conveyance project cost estimate and benefit cost analysis. So as you may have heard,
Tammy, let's make sure we don't have any questions on the Pure Water. Director
you.
Deere, any questions?
No, thank you.
Director Houston?
No questions at this time. I understand obviously how controversial it is in its own way. I certainly hope that they're going to move forward with this project. I mean, as much as we've all put into it on our thoughts and our long-term strategy for Southern California, I know it's a big decision they've got to make and how they potentially do it and phase it in, but I think it would be really unfortunate if for some reason this project gets abandoned or delayed. So that's my 2 cents, but that's a scary prospect, quite frankly. So anyway, big decisions for our Met directors. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, Tammy, please go on. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Department of Water Resources released a benefit cost analysis for the Delta Conveyance project. Their director, Carla Nemeth, made a presentation to Metropolitan Board and Water Committee in June, along with the executive director of the Delta Conveyance Design and Construction Authority and vice chairman of the Berkeley Research Group. So they provided a status of key milestones on the conveyance project, and it included the economic value and the benefit cost analysis and the total cost estimate. And shown in this slide is the project cost estimate of $20.12 billion. 75% are costs associated with construction and 25% are other program costs such as labor, land acquisition, and community benefits program. So this estimate includes construction labor costs associated with the designing and building of these facilities. The benefits from the Delta Conveyance project analyzed, they included water supply reliability, water quality changes, and mitigation for seismic events. And that analysis found that the benefits exceed the cost. So in the coming months, Metropolitan staff will be continuing to provide additional updates. And by the end of 2024, information will be brought to the Metropolitan Board to be followed by an action item. The Metropolitan Board will be considering funding an additional 2 years of planning efforts for the Delta Conveyance for 2025 and 2026 in order to assist the conveyance project to move through the permitting process. So another major project will be following on big decisions coming up. If we can move to the next slide, please. And regarding the climate vulnerability and risk assessment, Metropolitan just prepared a report, and this supports Metropolitan Climate Adaptation Master Plan for Water. It establishes a framework for adaptive management, and the report will identify how Metropolitan is managing risk associated with climate change. And it also provides recommendations to improve upon a range of climate hazards, vulnerabilities, and climate adaptation actions. And then a copy of the report can be accessed on Metropolitan's website. There is a link that's provided in the report for those who are interested. And if we can just move on to the board agenda look ahead. Just in preparing this, they had already met now in July, but the Metropolitan Board did approve several projects for different member agencies under their Future Supply Action Program. And those include Inland Empire Utilities Agency, the San Diego County Water Authority, Long Beach Utilities, LADWP, and Las Virgenes. So there's a lot of innovative projects and things that pilot studies that they'll be doing. So these will be interesting to watch too, how those further develop and see the reports that come out of that. And then for the next, moving on, the water supply conditions, we have a new chart. Metropolitan updated the look of their chart. It's a one-page chart now, looking at a lot of different details, but of course, highlighting from statewide project and the Colorado River, and then the Metropolitan's local supplies. And as we can see, there's still a good amount of supplies available. And as mentioned before, California and Metropolitan has made a significant amount of contribution toward conservation efforts. And that's helped to keep, mainly lake needs elevation steady and doing very well. So for calendar year 2024, combining both supply estimates from Northern California and the Colorado River Metropolitan's imported supply is 1.6 million acre feet. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you, Tammy. Director Deere,
Yes?
questions? Any
No, thank
questions
you.
or comments? Or
No, but
Director
did you know the
Houston?
direct,
No comments.
Director.
Thank you.
Right, Tammy, thank you for the report.
just know you're here.
Can you hear me?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. EJ, you want to go on
Comments.
with the next item if we're concluded with that one?
Yes, Madam Chair, and I apologize. I should have mentioned this earlier in the meeting. Director Williams is also with us, and I don't know if he, I don't know if he had any comments.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No
Director
problem.
Williams, I'm sorry. Welcome. I'm sorry to know you were there. Any comments?
No, thank
on
you.
any
Just,
of the items?
just great reports, and I'm telling you, our community doesn't really know how much it costs to provide water for this drought area that we live in. Just thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right, EJ, can you go on to the next item, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, that brings us to closed session items, and we have no closed session items for you today. And then followed that by director's comments and future agenda items.
All right, Director Deere, future agenda items
Nope.
or comments? All
No
right,
further
Director
comments.
Hughes. I'm calling Director Williams, and then I'll call on you, Director Houston. Director Williams?
No, thank you. I'm good.
All right, Director Houston.
I just want to say thank you to our staff, including Tammy and Augustine who are here, and also thanks to our two advocacy firms that assist us. So thanks to everybody involved, and very good updates. Thanks.
I won't repeat what Director Houston said, but I totally agree. You guys are just wonderful staffers. You always do a great job presenting, and that reflects the work and commitment that you have for, what we do at West Basin. Thank you, Mr. General Manager, for your leadership also. And so with that, we will, unless the General Manager, you have any comments or anybody else?
None, just a quick reminder that we have already posted our West Basin Board of Directors board meeting agenda. And so the items that we've heard today will be included on that agenda. Obviously, the action items that were taken today will be actually included on the action calendar rather than consent. And so when we deliver those items, we'll remind everybody that we did hear those in committee today. But if anybody wants those presentations, again, we're happy to do that on Monday. So just a quick
All right.
update on that.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much for everyone being here, the board and the staff. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.